Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, well, welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of the Finance and Governance Committee of Georges River Council. I declare the meeting open at 12:00. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the lands, waters and sky in the Georges River area, and I pay my respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work and meet on these lands. Apologies. Are there any apologies tonight? We have Councillor Jamieson, he's not here at the moment, so
Well, she comes and
we can do an apology later. Request to attend the meeting via audiovisual link. There were no requests to attend via audiovisual link. Notice of live streaming. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is being recorded for minute-taking purposes and is also being webcast live on Council's website. This recording will be made available on Council's website. Code of meeting practice. The order of business is as shown in the agenda, which has been made available, and staff and public are reminded that this meeting is open. And doors to the meeting room are to be left open unless the meeting moves into a closed confidential session according to section 14 of the Code of Meeting Practice. And Council's Code of Meeting Practice prohibits the electronic recording of meetings without the express permission of Council, and mobile phones must be turned to silent during the meeting. Disclosures of interest. Do any councillors have any disclosures of interest? No disclosures of interest. Public participation. There are no registered speakers for tonight's meeting. So we move to the first item of our business, which is the confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting, FIN 001-23. That is the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 12th of December 2022. Councillors, can I please have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Marnie, seconded by Councillor Takara. Any questions or discussion, councillors? If not, put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
All those against, declare it carried. Next item, we move into the committee reports. First item is FIN 002-23, the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. Minutes of the meeting held on the 25th of August and the 17th of November 2022. First of all, councillors, can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Marnie's moved it and Mayor Catchus has seconded. Councillors, do we have any questions on the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee report?
Through the chair, I just wanted a bit of a clarification. It's in the one of the minutes held on the 25th of August. It's got to do with modern slavery update and overview of implementations. What are we actually doing in that area?
Okay, take it. Director?
Yep, through you, Madam Chair. So that was a query that did come in earlier. So under the Local Government Act, we are now required to take reasonable steps to ensure that goods and services procured by the council are not product of modern slavery within the meaning of the New South Wales Modern Slavery Act. A simple definition, though, if anything meets, there's a list of schedule of offences, but in a generalised sense, it's any form of slavery, servitude or forced labour, that exploits children or other persons taking place in the supply chains of an organisation. So we'll be updating a number of policies. So the procurement policy will have a section giving guidance. Staff will create awareness across council as well, and then have some action plans that are developed, risk assessment areas. So areas we might need to look out for more and be more across it. But it's really just an evolving space that we're going to have to include in our policies and procedures and awareness piece.
Just a follow-up question through the chair. Does that include, I mean, the definition of modern slavery, I understand it is pure slavery, but when someone is being paid 2 cents an hour, is that slavery?
Yeah,
is that defined as slavery?
I believe so, from my limited sort of awareness of the legislation, but my understanding is yes, it's there to prevent those sort of instances.
Because there are a few countries where we are actually importing stuff from, and quite huge amounts.
I guess the word exploit children or other persons is where that definition would come into it. So
Yeah.
I think Fair Work and all that, there would obviously be some areas and guidance material that's going to be evolving now that the Act's been in place. But yeah, the push for us to implement it is there. But I think we were just discussing that it probably will cover a few things that we're potentially engaged on, that we're going to have to put some more steps to mitigate the risk.
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate that.
I just have a follow-on question in terms of timings. Do we know what timings council's working towards for the action plan and things like that? Or
Madam Chair, the procurement policy we've given till June 2023 to update that. Though the broader piece in the action plans, I would say, would be a number of years to sort of really embed it. But the first step's the policy, which is June. I'm not sure, to the Chief Audit Executive, I might throw to her if there was more context given in the ARIC on timeframes.
There was. We are in the process of procuring from the SROC group a toolkit, which gives us a time frame on which we work through that. So it's all the SROC councils that will be working through that. My understanding is I think we've got to the 30th of June 2024 to have embedded most of the actions required, but that we'll work through that with the toolkit.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions on the ARIC report? No? Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Marnie, seconded by Mayor Katras. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against, declare it carried. Okay, next item is FIN 003-23, amendments to the 2022-2023 fees and charges. Can I have a move or a second?
I'll move that, Madam Chair.
Moved by Councillor Spiker, second.
Through the chair again.
Yes.
There was a proposed modification to the parking permits that we approved of a while back. I think it was a motion or amendment by Councillor Lansbury, where she indicated, I think we agreed to the parking permits being a certain rate, 25 and 50. That's not included in this.
Through you, Madam Chair, no, but I can take it on notice and provide an update as to where that's at. But this is a separate matter. It went, I believe, in November or so, it went up and it went on public exhibition, but because of the break, this is the first time we can get it back to council for adoption. So this is a separate matter. Cost recovery.
My memory on the parking permit is out on exhibition now for public comment, and it was coming into effect from the new financial year.
Okay.
Oh,
Take it on
from
notice
my
and
memory.
clarify. So just to give you the correct outcome.
Pardon?
It was from the start of the next month.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I had a question just on this one. These new fees on the auditing or whatever it's called, when do they come into effect?
Upon the resolution of
So,
council,
the
so
council meeting.
exactly that
The
night,
next day.
the
Okay.
next day they'll come
The
into
immediate
effect.
effect.
Yeah,
Okay.
because they've been on public exhibition.
Okay. Excellent. Any other questions then on those amendments? Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Simington, second by Councillor Beccaria. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
And those against, and declare it carried. Okay, next is FIN 004-23, administration of the 2024 local government elections. I have a mover and a second. Moved by Mayor Katras. Second by Councillor Beccaria. Okay, and councillors, any questions or queries on that? I just had one question. Do we know the date, or is it just set for September 2024?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'll refer that to the.
There is no date set at the moment.
Okay.
It's just September 24 at this point.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? If not, we'll put the motion. All those in favour? Say aye. All those against? There carried. Okay, FIN 005-23. That's the investment report as of the 30th of November. I can have a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Marnie. Second, Councillor Shah, thank you. Councillors, any questions or queries?
On that, sorry.
The investment report as of the 30th of November, item FIN 005.
Thank you. I just have one question, and it goes all the way back to the paragraph 25. In March 2000, An update was received of a group class action against the Australian Lehman Group, and then it goes on that the former, anyway, that the former Hurstville City Council joined in September 2008. The appointed liquidators of Lehman Brothers are Stephen blah, blah, blah. And then it says council received an interim dividend of $842,515 and 1 cent on the 22nd of September. How did that come about? I mean, it's a windfall. How did that take it? But
Through you,
what-
Madam
what's
Chair.
that?
That's the next report. You're jumping ahead a little bit, but we can get to that if you want me to answer it now.
Yeah, go on,
or-
answer it now.
Okay.
Thank you.
It is a bit confusing. We had the November and December in there. So we are participating in a number of those CDO recoveries. So
Yeah.
I don't know the exact date, but given around the global financial crisis, 2008, there was about 20 million from memory lost, and we've recovered, I think, about 50% of that, but we continue to participate in these the litigation against those companies, and this is just one of them where we have received back dividends, though a lot of money goes to the companies that take on the litigation. Yeah, so that was a good one that we have received it, so it goes back to recouping the money lost from the former Hurstville City Council during that time.
So we lost, Hurstville City Council lost about 20 million, right?
Don't quote me, but that was the memory roughly, yeah,
Approximately, and we've got back about 50%.
just over
And
50%.
there's continuing litigation, and
They're very complex, like as you see all the names, there's lots of little ones there, so it might have been when I first saw the investment strategy, there were lots of different products, whereas now we are trying to keep it a little bit more generalized, consolidated. So every product would have its own litigation. So that's like the Kakadu one, the Lehman's Brother one that we had. It's all different groups that we're participating in, and no cost to council. So there is no disadvantage in us being a member. They just take a high portion, but it's better to be in it than out of it.
oh, okay.
It's the
Thank
position we
Like
take.
all class actions.
Yes.
What's
The firm running, the legal firm running the class action is well rewarded for their actions, but we are also able to benefit from that. So.
Yeah.
Well, at least we're getting something.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a move on the FIN 00523 investment report as at 30th November. We have moved by councillor Marley, second.
Question.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Don't mind, Madam Chair. A little while ago, council resolved to look at monies available for the purchase of Glenleaf through developed contributions and internal external sources. And I think that report was delayed due to a open space strategy study being carried out. But as you're probably aware, the Glenleaf issue is coming to massive public debate at the moment. And people are saying, well, council's got $200 million in the bank. Is any of that available for, purchase of Glenleaf? Because the member for Oatley's been saying for a while, every level of government must contribute, state, federal, local. So yeah, people are asking, can't you just get a bit of money out and do a bit of dealing with the state and federal governments and come to an agreement to buy Glenleaf? So is that something?
Through you, Madam Chair. So I'd say the purpose of the investment report is for regulation purpose, whereas that topic, I would say, is a little bit different to the investment report, but just generally, so the purpose of this report is to highlight how we're complying with the investment property and cash movements. I'd recommend that any discussion is about those sort of things is budget and then acting on the original resolution that is there in place. So I'd probably say it's a different topic to this report that's in place there.
Yeah, I totally agree. People are saying to me, all this money's in the bank. Can we use some of that for Glenleaf? And I'm saying no, but they're saying, well, you've got $200 million.
Yeah, I'm happy to say, like I've highlighted to councillors, our cash is highly restricted. So I think on memory previously, it's nearly 95% is restricted. So the nature of what we do is high volume, and there's lots of little elements that make up that 200 million that's committed to other things, such as leave liabilities in there, bonds. We have the developer contributions is the largest portion that's in there as well. So yeah, I think it's best to look at like the quarterly budget review that's up later talks about the different cash mixes and how that's there. Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors, on the November investment report? Okay, I will put the motion. All those in favour, say
Aye.
aye. Those against? Carried. We move now to FAN 006-23, the investment report as of the 31st of December 2022. Councillors, can I have a mover and seconder?
I'll move that, Madam Chair.
Councillor Simonton and
I'll second.
Councillor McCann. I'll second it tonight, thank you. Okay, so we've obviously had a question from Mayor Catchings already. Does anyone have any other questions on this report?
Yeah, through the chair to the acting director. Could you, it's item 14, page 65. Can you just explain what restorations reinstatements is?
Sorry, I think this might be.
Quarterly budget.
Oh, the wrong one. Right, that's good to see the eagerness tonight.
We'll leave that. Leave it.
That's good.
Jumping in here.
That's all right. I like that you're reading the report, so that's good.
Okay, so we'll come back to that one. We've been moved by Councillor Simonton, seconded by Councillor McCurry. All those in favour say aye. All those against, declare it carried. And now we move to the last one, which is FAN 007-23 quarterly budget review report for the period ended 30th of December 2022. Councillors, can I have a mover and seconder, please?
I'll move that, Madam Chair.
Absolutely, thank you. How's it?
I'll second it. I've got a question.
Well, mine's a bit of.
Okay,
Are you got a
and
question?
so we have a question from Councillor Simonton Savage. Go ahead, Simonton, please.
Through the chair to the acting director, can you please explain what restoration reinstatements means on page 65?
Through you, Madam Chair. So restoration reinstatements is, this paragraph is referring to the income we received. It's to cover the costs associated with works undertaken by council to repair public assets. So it can be any utility companies where they have to dig it up, remediate, just do a partial remediation, but it's not to our standards. So then we go in, then restore the area back to the standard that we perceive is required, and then we bill the relevant customer or company to reimburse us for those costs.
Okay, so a follow-up question through the chair to the acting director. So being 61,000 down, does that mean they're not paying us
Could be
timely fashion?
through you, Madam Chair. It could be the we do have a timing with the billing, so the team usually does try to do a batch bill at a time because there's quite a high volume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Still, yeah.
And what's the success rate on that? We do get it.
Through you, Madam Chair, all of our debtors we send now to Revenue New South Wales that do debt collection, as they have a huge portfolio. So that's improved our debt collection ability. We have a very small team of one and a half. So the volume of work has been helped by moving it to Revenue New South Wales for debt collection.
Does anyone else have any questions
Yeah.
on the quarterly budget review?
Yeah, through the chair, I just want to actually get an idea of what's going. There's a certain number of dot points here, and I suppose it's my pet issue. And it says depreciation is forecast to increase by 800,000 due to the rising cost of replacement, though this figure may be impacted on by the most recent natural disaster and asset condition deterioration. Roads are maintained regularly. Do we take the maintenance out of the depreciation?
Through you, Madam
Through
Chair.
the chair.
So, sorry, say that. Can you just
Clarify.
clarify the question again?
Let me just clarify.
Yeah.
My understanding of depreciation, I'll keep bringing it up until the state government gets to understand, gets to deal with this, because I think it's double dipping. And the reason why I say it's double dipping is depreciation to me suggests that it's the cost of maintaining an item, cost of maintaining a building, cost of maintaining a road, etc. Now, my argument is, if you're depreciating roads at a certain rate, but you're maintaining them at a certain rate, should that maintenance be taken out of the depreciation cost, because it's double dipping? Like you're putting, it's costing us to maintain them, but it's also costing us to depreciate them. So,
It come through your Madam Chair, I think the more you spend on maintenance helps at preserving the useful life of the asset. So it's always in interest to try and maintain that. And I'm looking at Scott whether he might have some input there to say, but I think it's not double dipping. It definitely isn't. I think it does help. It might reduce your depreciation in essence, though I think sometimes we're always going to have depreciation as a problem, given that we have $1.5 billion worth of public assets. So I think having a higher one's not always a reflection. It's also a reflection of sort of the cost that or the money we need to put aside to help keep it at the relevant standard. I do think the natural disaster potentially has deteriorated the useful life, and that's where we're going to be hit from a maintenance point and a depreciation point. But you'll see later on, the biggest one that's hit roads is the CPI increase. So there's a quarterly budget review for that, where it's the cost. We've assumed 3.5%, whereas everyone would know it's hitting that 7.5% at the moment. So to do the same amount of kilometres of road maintenance and renewal is nearly double what we estimated. So that's where it's hitting us. I don't know if you had anything you want to add to.
Yes, I guess there is a linkage there. If you're increasing your maintenance costs, then your depreciation is going to drop year on year because you're putting more effort into keeping the asset at a higher standard. So it then increases the service level of that asset. So the useful life of that asset, and the useful life of the asset is what drives the depreciation.
through your chair, a follow-up question again. I understand. Obviously we understand the logic behind all that, and behind the fact that if you're maintaining whatever it is, a piece of infrastructure, then that really should be depreciated less because you're spending money on maintenance. But from what I've been given to understand, it's a formula. It's a strict one. It doesn't matter if the road's in Timbuktu or in Opera. It's the same formula. It's the same rate. Is that the case, or am I?
Yes. So I guess like the way that we would depreciate an asset, for example, a road, is we set a useful life, so it could be 100 years, say, and then we will depreciate that evenly over the 100 years. Now, if we have a big year of maintenance and we improve the condition of that asset, the following year, instead of having 99 years left, it might now have 105 years left because we spent so much maintenance on it, so we improved it. So that then reduces the depreciation year on year because you've changed an asset from 99 years useful life to 105.
Okay, so you do go through that exercise.
Yes, it's.
Oh, that's interesting. That's good.
He explained
You
it
do
better
go
than
through
I
that
did.
exercise. So,
Thank you, Scott.
so if assets, sorry.
You explained it better than I did. Thank you.
So just to get it clear in my head, so I won't ask any more questions on this because it's been a pet problem with my understanding of how depreciation works. So what you're saying is, if the Assets and Services Group turned around to you and said, look, the roads we've just spent $20 million worth on maintaining the roads, that'll extend the life of those roads, not 100 years, but it'll go to 110 years. So you just put that in your little calculator or whatever it is or something.
Yeah. So we
okay.
I guess we have a 3-year cycle of asset valuations, and we just do like a simple desktop one every for 2 of those 3 years, then we do a comprehensive one every 3rd year where we really look at conditions and how much maintenance and things has been spent on the asset, and then we put those calculations in and it spits out the new depreciation figure for us.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Well, I won't bother.
Can I ask a follow-up question, which might be coming from where the mayor is coming from? Because I recall there being a comment once before that this council has set quite a high standard in terms of the formula or the useful life that we use to determine depreciation. And how does that compare with other councils? And is that where there is a variance between our depreciation level and what other councils are depreciating at? How do we compare?
Through you,
Okay,
Madam
sorry,
Chair.
yes, to the director.
Yeah, it's the prior report to council, I think last year's financials. That's a big commentary piece in there. I'll throw to Scott for more detail, but generally there is still inconsistency across there, and you can run the issue when you have to look at all the different asset classes and what's applied. So some might have higher useful lives that we don't believe reflect, and we are becoming.
Some other councils, is that what you mean? Like, so they might say our roads will last 150 years and we are saying that we only last 100 years. So it's going to cost us more in depreciation on it.
Or the two former councils might have had some different as well. So we potentially, and it takes a long time to sort of work through that, do comprehensive revals as well. Open space was a big one, even just making sure your assets are in your asset register. You can have the smallest thing from a light, I don't know, a light post at a park. So all those things need to be captured. They all are reviewed, they're all valued, they all have a useful life on it. So the time to go and do that was a big year last year where we captured all that data and.
But every council set those limits themselves. There's no industry standard.
Correct, though.
That means that councils of books are apples with apples.
Slightly different,
Yeah.
correct. Though there is quite strict regulation by the auditors on who you use to value, and so that brings a little bit of consistency. I don't know if I'll throw to Scott if there's acting CFO if he wants to answer any questions on that.
Yeah, so we do get queried by the auditors as part of the annual audit. If our ranges are way outside the kind of average across local government areas, and yeah, you're better to be, I guess, more strict on your useful life that you set, because it'll end up catching up to you at the end of the day. And we kind of found that pre-amalgamation, and we've done a lot of work to kind of bring those useful lives down to be more reflective of reality.
So meaning if you estimate 150 years and you're going to replace it sooner, there's no money to do it because you haven't accounted for it. Sort of.
I think, yeah, the Section 8 of the Local Government Act is you can't pass on a problem to future generations. So I'd argue if you picked a building and said, oh, it can last for 300 years, but it doesn't, you're then passing that problem on. So having a very realistic valuation and useful life is key to setting long-term financial commitments, making sure the rates are correct, making sure the budget's correct, that you're not just passing the problem. And I think there was a trend, or some may say that before the amalgamations, a lot of councils potentially changed useful lives to improve their annual bottom line result, to improve their sustainability forecast. So we've always been requesting for a consistent position across councils so that it can't just be manipulated on an annual basis. Or yeah.
And this council has resolved that way. It's adopted that as a policy position, and they've made appropriate submissions to ensure that there is some sort of standardised approach to the useful life of assets.
But so far, there's been no action on that by the state government.
But it is one of those things, as pointed out by the acting director, that clearly some councils to establish to make it look as though that they were more financially sustainable than they were extended than useful life of assets to reduce their depreciation.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just one other question through the chair. The other continued anticipated legal costs of 1.2 million for the ongoing investigations have been included. I understand that we definitely are exposed to that cost, but have we heard from them as to whether we need to put that amount of money?
Aren't we getting it through insurance? Are we getting it back?
Through you, Madam Chair, just for this dot point is a direct copy of the position in April 2022. Yeah, so if you want, I can take it on notice, or I can refer to the acting General Counsel. I would prefer to take it on notice as well.
I think that'd be fair to say we're still making allowances for that, because that matter has not been concluded completely. And in terms of the comment about insurances, we certainly have applied for our insurances to cover it, but we remain without that payment. So even if insurance was covering it, would show an expense and an income. We wouldn't just not show it. So we do need to allow for it as an expense. And if we get the income, it may come in a different financial year.
Thank you. That answers the question. Thank you.
Do any other councillors have any other questions on? I've just got a couple. And you maybe just answered it there. So it says in the background, the council discretionary water fund has not been included as part of the budget strategy. I believe we did end up including that. So is that just needs to be updated, I guess?
Through you, Madam Chair. So this is the budget strategy, the draft formulation. What council resolves on the night is up to them, whereas that was how the budget was presented to them.
It also says, I can't remember what section it's under, a total increase in operating expenditure of 191,000 is proposed compared to the adopted budget, and these increases are primarily due to new grants being received, and then the council resolution for the new plan of management and master plan for Cars Bush Park. So I'm just wondering, we're saying that we have expenditure of 191,000, but then we've got grants received. So, and then we've got the master. So could you just explain that point to me?
Yep, so through you, Madam Chair, I would probably refer to the table 2 in the attachment, which details the operational budget changes. It's on page 72.
Okay.
And so we did find with this one, there were lots of kind of ups and downs, and the net position was 191,000
Okay.
expenditure increase.
Okay.
We always try
So that's
to.
the summary of all
Yeah.
those grants.
Yeah, in, out, and then the net increase was
Okay.
191. So, and the mainly things were offset as much as we could, and the material changes were the resolution for the new plans of management, master plan for Cars Park and Todd Park,
Okay, thank
and the
you.
business case that was added. Yeah.
I just have 2 more questions. The $2 million in local recovery grants, it says it's going to be spent on capital works. Do we have a list, or is it just going into general revenue for expense on?
Sorry, which point was that?
The 2 million, which point is it? The $2 million in local recovery grants. Let me just tell you what it is. It's in your summary, sorry. 23. The New South Wales Government has provided council with $1 million in local recovery and $2 million in total for the purpose of providing timely financial assistance directly to affected councils to support in undertaking immediate recovery activities, address emerging needs, and help build community resilience. Includes initiatives across the built, social, economic, and natural environment recovery domains, and the funds are received have been scheduled to deliver works over the next 2 years. So I was just wondering if there is a schedule of works, or if it's just going on general road repair and things like that.
Through you, Madam Chair, I believe a report came to council on this one detailing the projects, but I'll take it on notice because there have been a lot of grants coming through in the last few years, but I think it is that one. So I can circulate the link to that report again that details the that, and if not, I'll let you know the outcome. So whether there was a list of projects associated with it.
Okay, thank you. And then the last question was just, it's in the section of the budget review, I think it's like the last page, on the contracts awarded over 50 grand. So there was the San Susie Leisure Centre major renovation works, and Bluefit is the contractor, so for 523,000. Is that all the works that was done to bring Sans when the lease transfer occurred and they had to replace all the windows and do all of the works? Is that the Bluefit was the contractor managing all the projects?
I believe so. Through you, Madam Chair, I believe that relates to the briefing that was undertaken to councillors last year, I think in May or so, on the Sans Susie. I wasn't there for it.
Before they did the transfer.
Yeah, I believe it's to do that. Yes, it's to do with that item, but I can take it on notice if there's any further questions and refer it to the Director, Assets and Infrastructure.
Okay, thank you. No, that's it. That's the last question from me. Does any other question? Councillors have any questions? No? Okay, all right. We have FAM 007-23. It's been moved by Councillor Symington, seconded by Mayor Catras. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those against? They're carried. And there being no further items on the business paper, so the meeting closes at 6:35.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
Just in case. Did you close it?